I feel very strange behind this pulpit. You all be very careful. I'm not sure this is the right place. I am happy to be here today and to report on the Corridor Curb Appeal Committee. I would just say if you would pull out the original work of late 2013, you would see that John Rhodes, in his wisdom, put some pretty ambitious goals out there for the Corridor Curb Appeal Committee. So we had to hit the ground running, and I mean really running. But our effort all started with the house on A Street. We named it that because we thought it sounded like a bestseller. But we had in the town of Clifton Forge a house that was at the intersection of Main Street and Bird Street, the two ways that people enter our community from the east, that had every window boarded up on the home, and certainly gave the wrong message about our community, at least in our minds. I've always thought of Covington and Clifton Forge as the bookends, the two bookends to the Allegheny Highlands. And so one of the major purposes of our committee is to make sure that the first impression that people have of our area, whether they come from the east or from the west, is a very positive one. So we started with the house on A Street, and you'll see in the couple of pictures, I think we have a second picture of what went on there, that we cobbled together a lot of volunteers, started with the St. Joseph's College students. Our own volunteers got materials donated by True Value and private citizens, and we restored the exterior of that house. Unfortunately, it's still not got a use of the interior, but it does make a good first impression. Another significant eyesore in the town was this particular home that had a red and a white roof, as you can see from the pictures, and so everybody knew that house. You know, they always talked about the house with the red and white roof. It's a fantastic story because while we hired a contractor to paint that roof, we do not allow our volunteers to get up beyond sometimes a story and a half, even to the second story. But we started painting on this house one day, and interestingly, the gentleman inside came out, saw what we were doing, and all of a sudden said, well, here, I'll help with that. Got out a paintbrush, started painting, and then because he knew we could not go to the second story, he said, if you'll leave that paint here, I will finish the job. And he did. He worked several days after that event, and this is his home today. And what a great improvement on the corridor. Our efforts have been associated with not only painting, but in trimming back large overgrowth, in doing some cleanups of our streets on an annual basis. Our volunteers go from 8 to 80 plus. A couple of them I think are shown here, and I won't say which are the 8s and which are the close to the 80s. But you can see that we have a wide range of volunteers. At our events, we range anywhere from perhaps 10 to 28 people. We get the word out through our Facebook page, which is a great place to see the before and after pictures of the various activities that we've been engaged in. During the not quite 2 whole years, we had our first meeting in January of 2014. We have had what we call Free Trim Fest, where people get out and really get rid of a lot of the debris that is actually hiding the way many of our homes look. The overgrowth is so significant, and candidly, most of our elderly individuals are not even capable of getting out there and doing that work. So we get out there with the permission of the property owners and do trimming. We do, in Covington, they do street sweeping and an annual pickup. We happen to, in the town of Clifton Forge, have bulk and brush on a regular basis, so we're able to kind of stay ahead of that. We've had 6 corridor cleanups where people literally walk the entire distance of our community on those main arteries cleaning up, and what we have found is that people love Kroger because we find lots of Kroger receipts, and they love those beef jerkies, and we have too many cigarette butts, and we really would like to find a way to encourage individuals and and businesses to try to help us with the cigarette butt problem. We took on a major task of cleaning and painting the tunnels that were at one time used almost exclusively for the maintenance workers at the CSX yard to come to work. The tunnels had not been operational for many years. They were in disrepair. We thought that was a historic piece of our community and we wanted it restored. So today, and you'll see in a subsequent picture, we have not only cleared debris and painted, but we've created a sign there that records the history and importance of that part of our town in the past. 8 homes have been painted or repaired. We have done recognition of individual properties, both business and residential, where the property owners themselves have taken upon themselves in the corridors to make significant improvements. And one of the goals of our committee has been to try to encourage people through our enthusiasm to maybe come out and do some painting on their own. And in fact, after we painted the tunnels, the church across the street the next weekend got out and started doing some painting. We had a renter that agreed to do the top floor. 2 out-of-town property owners, one from North Carolina and one from Northern Virginia, came and helped us, and one of those couples continues to come every time we have an event to help us work on other people's homes. Again, something that we feel very, very good about. We also had a couple of homeowners who filed applications for work, and then after seeing what we were doing and seeing some of the other homes we were working on, decided they would do the work on their own. We have a recognition program where we do recognize individuals who have made significant improvements to the exterior of their homes on our corridors, but as a result of that, the Clifton Forge Town Council agreed to a Beyond the Corridor program, and so we now give annual recognitions to as many homes or businesses as are nominated to thank people and recognize people who in fact are doing their best to improve the appearance of our community. And we give a small gift certificate to one of the local hardware stores so that they can continue on that maintenance cycle. Our most recent event was just last month, a fall cleanup and trim fest. As I mentioned earlier, this is important because it does not only enhance the appearance of our corridors, but I think it makes people feel better about their community and have a sense of pride. We want people to come visit our community. Both Covington and Clifton Forge put on many events that draw people in as visitors, and we don't want that to be a one-time visit. We'd like people to have a very positive impression about our 2 communities and to come back often, maybe decide to start a business here or buy one of our homes either at their permanent location or as a second home. So we're looking to bring as many people into our community as possible. What we've learned is significant. Organization is clearly key. How you approach individuals to make them feel good about offering their property to be improved is a challenge, and we address that through door hangers and individual letters, and then by people seeing us out on the streets doing what we did without any compensation and enjoying ourselves. I would have to say that no matter what the weather, and we have been out on 90-degree days and we've been out on rainy days, the volunteers that we have always have smiles on their faces. They feel like they really are doing something significant for the community, and they are. We do need to, like everyone else, to expand our volunteer base. We can always use more people. I'd like for those who have volunteered on one or more of our curb appeal events to stand, just so you can see the people in your room today that are a significant part of the workforce that we call on regularly to be a part of this. We have been approached by a number of individuals who have significant repairs that go well beyond our capability as volunteers. We have done some minor work with contractors who have been gracious enough to give us some discounts, but there is more work to be done. In the less than 2 years that we've been around, we've spent about $7,700 of seed money that the foundation has provided to us. But that's been supplemented not only by volunteers, but by financial contributions and material contributions by a number of individuals and organizations. People brought their own tools to do Trim Fest. Some of them have lost those tools in the process, but we could always use more volunteers and more money to do repairs. Our next steps include this weekend, and you're welcome to join us on Saturday at 8 o'clock in the morning at Town Hall. We are doing our Paint Partners project. We have one home where the owner is actually supplying the paint and brushes, and we're supplying the labor for the first floor, and then they have made arrangements for someone to come do the second floor. We also have, and you'll see at the very end of the presentation, we've reached out not only to Boy Scouts, but my most recent grab has been to the Boys Home, and the Boys Home yesterday finished some new railings for a home that had none on one side of their porch and very deteriorated ones on the other. So we're now very excited about perhaps getting the Boys Home more involved in our ventures. How to get involved? You can talk to any one of those people who just stood up and indicate your interest and your willingness to be involved. We do have a great Facebook page, as I mentioned earlier, and you can either call the Covington City Hall or you can call Clifton Forge Main Street if you want to volunteer. The events in Clifton Forge always start at 8 a.m. on Saturday and end by noon, so you don't have to commit your entire day. And this is the before and after of the tunnel, and you can see dramatic difference. And interestingly, there I had to get a recreational lease from CSX in order for us to be able to do that work. So you do have to make sure that you have the owner's permission and interest and willingness to be involved. And I think the last slide, yep, this is again the before and after of the tunnel. And you have the last one of the boys. Oh, you already showed it. Okay, well, I wasn't watching that. I was too busy talking. But this is a fun activity. As I said earlier, people seem to love to get out and do things and be a part of it. One day we were out there and it was drizzling rain and people started showing up, and I said, I think maybe we better cancel. And people said, we're already out here, let's go ahead. And they did. I think that shows you the kind of dedication and interest that we have of our existing volunteers, and I again encourage you to think about volunteering or encouraging clubs, organizations that you belong to volunteer. One thing that I think we're missing, and this is where I'll use my soapbox or pulpit, one thing that I think we're missing in our community is the opportunity to let our young people know and understand what our community is all about and what we have to offer. I personally would love to see a requirement of our two educational institutions for volunteering work in order to graduate, because I think many young people don't understand the various clubs and organizations and activities that are really the fabric of our community. So if you have children or grandchildren that you'd like to encourage to maybe think about remaining in this community as they grow up, a good way to get them started on that is to get them to feeling a part of this community, other than just going to school and going home and to church. So think about encouraging them to volunteer. You can always come along with them and let them do the heavy lifting, and you can sit back and enjoy the fact that you're being a part of the community. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I will be available afterwards if anybody has any questions or if you want to volunteer. I've got bunches of pieces of paper that I can sign people on. Thank you.